Hello everyone, welcome back to ASR, African Stories Realized. Ever since Shaka iLembe first aired, it has faced claims from viewers and publications that it's historically inaccurate. So while we wait for the second season, I want to explore the historical accuracies and inaccuracies that were portrayed in the show. Hopefully, it'll help some viewers separate the history from the art and give you more context on the history behind the story being told. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. Firstly, historical accounts clearly establish that Jama, the father of Senzangakhona, had already passed away before Senzangakhona and Nandi met for the first time. This means that the prophecy could not have been told through him. Some accounts suggest the prophecy was first shared with the seer, who then communicated her vision to Nandi. I don't know why the show made the choice to deliver the prophecy through Jama, but I think the show would have played out the same regardless. Some historical accounts claim that following Jama's passing, the throne was held by Umuki, the older cousin of Senzangakhona, who has been depicted in the show. Instead, my research revealed that Mkabayi, Senzangakhona's sister, acted as regent until he became of age, but it is possible that Mkabayi and Umuki both served as co-regents during this time. Some critics have suggested that in the show, Nandi is presented as a youthful 16-year-old maiden when she first encounters Senzangakhona. I don't recall any specific mentions of age, but considering Nomzambata is about 33, I find it unlikely. The casting lines up with historical records, which indicate that Nandi was already a mature woman in her late 20s or early 30s at the time. Historical accounts also suggest that she was older than Senzangakhona, and I think Shaka iLembe did well to show us that Senzangakhona had not yet embarked on his coming-of-age ritual when him and Nandi met. There have also been suggestions that Zwide was considerably older than Senzangakhona and claimed he reigned in Ndwandwe long before Shaka's birth. However, I think Shaka iLembe made it clear that Zwide is older, just that he wasn't the Ndwandwe king yet. In fact, my research suggests that Zwide's father, King Langa, died in 1805, whereas Senza's father, Jama, died in 1781. This means that Senzangakhona became king before Zwide did, just that he wasn't yet old enough to take the throne. Furthermore, Zwide was only 4 years older than Senzangakhona, so I don't think that casting choices distorted the timeline at all. The tale of King Langa's demise at the hands of his wife, Queen Ntombazi, along with the inclusion of a goblin child, is fictional. In fact, following the airing of Shaka iLembe Season 1, Queen Ntombazi's family spoke out, confirming that Zwide was his first son and that she had no other children before him. They also rubbished any claims of her being a witch. However, some historians believe that she was, while others believe that she was simply a powerful woman who was skilled in the use of herbs and potions. There are a number of stories and legends about Queen Ntombazi's mystique, making her feared and respected by many. Historical accounts confirm that King Langa actually died of smallpox during an epidemic that killed over 200,000 people, making it one of the most devastating in South African history. The story of Lembe and the cattle thieves that Shaka killed may be fabricated or altered from the story of Shaka killing a leopard by himself, but the show has depicted Shaka as an ally of animals, so in that context it would have been out of character to show him slaying a leopard. Instead, it was Dingiswayo who was depicted slaying a leopard in the show. The name Lembe means the Great One or Mighty One and originates from the name of a legendary warrior who was said to be invincible. He was a giant who could defeat any opponent. He was also said to be able to control the weather and the animals. It is believed that Shaka was given the name because of his strength and courage after slaying the leopard. Shaka was said to be inspired by the legend of Lembe, and he used it to motivate his own warriors. The show took liberties here, but I think they did well to incorporate real stories. It is not clear if Vundlazi and Shaka had any romantic relationship, but historical accounts suggest that there was a Zulu maiden named Vundlazi. It's possible the show used the name because it has historical precedent, or they might continue to tell her story in the coming seasons, so I won't spoil it now. Gerenyane was Nandi's second husband and the father of a second son. However, their marriage was frowned upon. Historical accounts suggest that Zulu and Qwabe were closely related, but the show didn't make that seem like a barrier to Senzangakhona and Nandi getting married. Rather, they made it seem like there was just bad blood between the families. At this point, Nandi was only Zulu by marriage, so the more likely reason her marriage to Gerenyane was shunned is the fact that Nandi's mother was from Qwabe. Essentially, they were from the same clan and such marriages were frowned upon. The show did allude to the story of Qwabe and Zulu, the two brothers who were both descendants of the Zulu chief Malandela. When Malandela died, there was a dispute over who should succeed him as chief. Qwabe was the older brother, but Zulu was the more popular and charismatic leader. In the end, Zulu was chosen as the new chief, and Qwabe broke away with his followers to start a new clan. So Nandi's family in Qwabe definitely have a distant relation to the Zulu. Historical accounts also dispute that Shaka served in the Qwabe army. He was 16 when he became Dingiswayo's head boy and 19 when he was drafted into the Izig, which makes it unlikely that he served under Gedenyani before that. It's also unlikely that Gedenyani died during the conflict between Dingiswayo and Mawewe. Historical accounts suggest that when Dingiswayo returned to Mtetwa, he displaced Mawewe without resistance. Mawewe fled, but was later lured back and killed. The name Shaka also originated from the disease called Ishaka. This disease caused women's bodies to be sore, lazy, and bulge. When the unmarried Nandi became pregnant, people thought she was suffering from Ishaka. The show actually alludes to this, suggesting that when Senzangakhona initially denied impregnating Nandi, it brought shame upon her, and her son was cursed with the name Shaka. Senzangakhona had actually named him Skidi, a name which the show uses more later in the first season. Dingiswayo's story appears to be a mixture of historical facts and liberties taken by the show's producers. Much of this is because little is known about Dingiswayo's time in exile, but the story of his narrow escape after planning a coup with his brother is true. The character Baleka is fictional, which unfortunately means her romance with Dingiswayo also didn't happen. On his march back to Mtetwa, the show depicts Dingiswayo's encounter with a white man, Dr. Cohen, who he steals a horse from. But historical accounts suggest Dr. Cohen was killed by Kempukatwayo of the Qwabe, and only thereafter did Dingiswayo liberate his horse and gun. Some historical accounts suggest Dingiswayo killed Cohen himself, so I'm disappointed in the lack of follow-through by the show there, but maybe they intend to use the Doctor in upcoming seasons. While in exile, Dingiswayo learned about different cultures and military tactics, coming in contact with traders in different clans, which I think Shaka iLembe did well to depict. The cause of Senzangakhona's death in history is just as ambiguous as in the show. He fell ill and died, with many speculating that he had been poisoned by Nandi. However, there's no report of Senza visiting Mtetwa or seeing Shaka again shortly before his death. It's more likely that Shaka's growing reputation had earned him supporters within the Zulu tribe who believed he should rule, and one of those supporters may have poisoned Senza. There were many possible culprits, including his sister, Mkabayi, something the show did very well to depict. The less exciting theory is that Senzangakhona may have died of natural causes. Some historians believe that Senza was already ill at the time of his death, and if indeed he was poisoned, it simply accelerated his death. Others believe that Senzangakhona may have been killed by a rival chief or even by one of his own sons in Kwanobamba. The story of Squijana's death has different accounts. Senzangakhona did tell Umutli that Squijana was the heir apparent, not Shaka. Following Senza's death, Squijana ascended to the Zulu throne, but Shaka killed Squijana on his return to Kwanobamba, taking over as king, much like how it was depicted on the show. However, other historical accounts suggest Squijana was not popular with the Zulu people. Many of them saw him as a weak and indecisive ruler. This suggests that there was a mutiny and Shaka's supporters assassinated Squijana in order to bring Shaka to power. Umutli is also said to have been killed by Shaka's supporters, but only after Shaka became king, not alongside Squijana like it was depicted in the show. It's important to note that there's no single definitive account of Shaka Zulu's life. The historical record is incomplete and contradictory, and different historians have different interpretations of the available evidence. As a result, any attempt to portray Shaka on screen is inevitably going to be subjective. Shaka iLembe is just one of many different ways to tell the story of Shaka. So is Shaka iLembe Season 1 historically correct? Yes and no. It's up to the individual viewer to decide how much weight they want to give to the series' historical accuracy. The most deliberate historical inaccuracy for me was the presence of Jama well after he was supposed to have passed. I personally feel like the show struck a perfect balance between historical accuracy and creativity. Bear in mind that Shaka iLembe is being told from Mkabayi's point of view, so certain aspects of the show may have been depicted from her perspective. The producers of the show did well to adapt the source material available to them, and ultimately Shaka iLembe's true value comes from its authenticity. We'll be back next season with more reviews and breakdowns. We're on the road to 20,000 subscribers, so please don't forget to like and subscribe. This is ASR, for the love of African filmmaking and storytelling.